A 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thanks for listening to this podcast produced by Diddy TV. Visit diddytv.com for more exclusive, on-demand content or download the official Diddy TV app from your app store today. Hi folks, I'm Amy Wright. My guest on the podcast today is Martin Sexton, a native of Syracuse, New York, and the 10th of 12 children. He's been praised for his down-to-earth songwriting and otherworldly voice by everyone from Rolling Stone to the New York Times and Billboard. A friend of his, someone you might have heard of named John Mayer, had this to say: Martin Sexton is the best live performer I've ever seen. I may just quit my job and go follow Martin and make a fuss everywhere I go just to make sure that people don't go their lives without hearing this man sing to them. You can't top that. Today I chat with Martin about his latest EP, 2020 Vision, how he decided to finally build that treehouse with his son, what it was like cutting his teeth in Boston, and a lot more. Hope you guys enjoy getting to know him like I did, and that you'll share the podcast with your friends. Take a listen, and thanks again for choosing Diddy TV as your source for all things music. Yeah, we're excited to have you and talk to you a little bit about how you got started in music. And, of course, you have a new EP out, 2020 Vision, which I can imagine a little bit what that's about, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So you were born in Syracuse, New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I read that you were the 10th of 12 kids.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
That is crazy.
Six boys, 6 girls.
Were there any twins in there?
No. And we're all healthy and, all keeping in touch with one another. In fact, COVID kind of helped bring us together even more, believe it or not.
So were any of your older siblings, did they play music, and was that one of the reasons you got into music? Or
a lot of the folks in my family couldn't carry a tune if they had a suitcase. And so no is the answer. One of my younger sisters was musical, but not the older sibs that I know of. Maybe they were closeted musicians, but I never heard them.
Which is kind of amazing because you have an extraordinary voice and an extraordinary talent, and maybe all the genes went to you. That's all I can say,
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
You got all the musical genes. And when did you start playing guitar?
I think I was my 13th or 14th birthday, or it might have been Christmas. I wanted nothing more than a guitar. I would roam through the J.C. Penney catalog at night with a flashlight under the covers, just dreaming, and asked for it and finally got it. And yeah, about that time, early teens. Did
you teach yourself or did you take guitar lessons?
I took a few lessons from an old fella back in like 7th grade. And then after that, it was learning off of like Beatles and Zeppelin records.
Did you already sing? Did you know that you could sing at that point? Or
I knew because I would run up to the attic to listen to my older sibs' music. They had some good musical taste. And I would listen to Stevie Wonder. And that's sort of that's how I thought people were supposed to sing, like Stevie Wonder. So I kind of had a very high bar as an early kid. Okay, I got to sing like people do, so I'll sing like this guy. And I thought most people sang that way. And of course they don't. But wow, what a magical dude.
He was a magical dude. You sort of reminded me of a story. We had Tommy Emmanuel on, and he was saying,
"Oh my God!"
He heard Chet Atkins playing, and he thought he was playing every part himself, and so he said, "I thought I had to learn how to play all the different parts by myself."
And that's funny. So of course, then he did, and he does his magical Tommy Emmanuel thing, and what a gift he is. Right,
exactly. You just sort of reminded me of that story with your voice because you have this amazing voice. The first time I heard you sing was at the Telluride Bluegrass Festival, I think it was. And you sung, was it America the Beautiful?
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you that mixtape on the open road, the Do It Daily.
Oh, yeah?
Is a song that I listen to almost daily when we get up and we're eating our breakfast.
Mm-hmm. That's a compliment, thank you.
Right, kind of inspires us to get the day going.
Like shaving your face, scrambling up the eggs, knowing your place. Never beg to your baby and do it daily. That's great, scrambling them eggs.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so great. It is one of those songs that just makes us smile, and we're like, okay, we're going to do this one more time. And so you were playing guitar, and you're in high school. Were you in a band in high school, or?
Yeah, I think I had my first band when I was 15. We played like in garages and like church bazaars and stuff, and we played like we had played like an AC/DC tune, and we played a Pat Benatar song, and we played all kinds of like classic rock. And I mean, we really kind of sucked, but we tried. I think I'd been playing for like a year, and I knew the chords, but we nailed it on a few occasions, I have to say, looking back.
So when did you think, hey, I think I want to do this? I want to really be a musician, or did it just sort of evolve for you?
I think way back in the bathtub, singing Stevie Wonder tunes in the bathtub, and it sounds so great in there. And then also I would sing it out in the schoolyard in like 6th, 7th grade, and kids would gather around, and I got this attention and like that I never got before, and kids were into it. They would clap their hands to the beat, and they would applaud. And of course, then the nuns would come out and break it up because we were having too much fun, I guess. But
those
I
nuns.
think at that moment, yeah, God love them. But I think that was when it was born. Like, oh my gosh, I want to perform because this is great. I love this.
Then at some point, you moved from Syracuse to Boston, right? Mm-hmm. And how old were you when that took place?
I was 22. It was about 1989, 90. And, if I just thought, hey, I know how to play guitar and I've got band experience, maybe I'll join like a hair band or something, or some kind of funk band. And I took auditions and stuff, but never got the gig.
Were you already writing music?
Yeah, I was writing kind of crappy tunes at that time. Songs that I wouldn't want to play live now, but it was a start. I didn't even own an acoustic guitar. I had a Stratocaster, and I got fired from my last job. It's now what we'd call a barista. And I got fired from that job, and I went I borrowed an acoustic guitar and went in the subway and started playing, and oh my God, like people started dropping dollar bills in my case, and I thought, wow, I never have to have a day job again.
Well, so in Boston, there's this major college circuit. There are colleges everywhere you turn around in Boston. So were you playing some of the college bars, and was that part of your story, or?
Yeah, some of that, yeah, like in Harvard Square. I think my first gig that wasn't in the subway or wasn't in like a little folk coffee house was in a rock club called TT the Bears. And in the club were two people. And besides the bartender, there were two people. One was Jeff Bartley, who's like a folk staple there in New England, and his buddy John Gorka. And John, of course, was a folk he was kind of a folk legend at the time. And I was familiar with his name and his work, but I wasn't familiar with the folk music of the day, of the early 90s. So, of course, them being the only two guys, they listened to me. And then John Gorka, I remember he paid like cash for 2 of my cassettes, being the gracious dude that he is, and kept one for him, and he gave one to his agent. And his agent then contacted me, and that's probably why I'm known sort of as a folk singer today, was that very night at TT the Bears, because I hooked up with a folk agent, and that agent hooked me up with all the Canadian folk fests and people like Craig Ferguson out at Telluride, all of those festival people, and that's probably why you saw me at that festival years later.
Have festivals been an important part in your musical career?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All those fests were wonderful, especially the Canadian ones. You get a decent slot on those and play some of the workshops. It just builds a wonderful following. And people still tell me about the first time they saw me at Telluride. I think it was the first time I played there was 96, and it was just pouring rain. And I was getting drenched, and they were all there with me, and they just remember like it was a photograph.
Well,
And I love hearing those stories.
well, it's an extraordinary setting there. If people who haven't been to Telluride, when you come out in the open there, and there's a stage and there's a mountain behind it, and then, like you said, kind of add in weather and some other things, that it's just the memory of that. I was there. I think it was early 2000s, and sort of when I was there, but I can't forget it either because it's just such an extraordinary setting, and the music was beautiful. But festivals, it seems like festivals, there's a circuit to that, and I think that people are there to really, enjoy music and experience songs or musicians that they haven't heard before. So it seems like that's a good way to really connect with new fans.
Totally, yeah. There's no better way to see like new and up and coming music than at some of these rootsy festivals throughout U.S. and Canada. I can't think of a better way. And it's cool because they're not like, an artist doesn't have to already have broke to be on them. So they're not household names. It's people who you're going to see and love and hear more from later as they grow and develop their careers.
So when did you put out your first album?
I saved up $801 bills from busking and recorded in this guy's attic. He had a 1-inch reel 8-track recording machine and some good gear. And we recorded my record called In the Journey. And it was the best $800 I ever spent.
After you recorded it, did you feel like you needed more than 8 tracks, or was 8 tracks enough?
That was plenty, actually. The Beatles made like Sgt. Pepper's on 4 tracks. So and I'm just a guy and a guitar. So, I just kind of added some bass and some backing vocals. And I think I had a drummer on a couple tracks. And it's kind of an innocent, sweet record. I was literally playing on the streets, and I would sell it on the street, actually, to folks passing by.
Well, and you've been pretty much an independent artist since day one. And is that something that's important to you philosophically?
I guess, yeah. I did. I had put out a few indies, like In the Journey and then Black Sheep. And then I signed with Atlantic, which was a wonderful dream come true, and did a couple records with them. And then got off Atlantic sort of right before a big axe was going to come down. So I'm kind of glad I got out of it when I did. I kind of learned that I didn't need the big guns that a major label had at the time, because then I put out a double live record and kind of funded my own little imprint. And with that, my little kitchen table record label, it's been a wonderful journey with music business, like with things like song placement on film and TV and radio play and press folks like yourself. It's been a wonderful ride. I learned early that you don't need to have that big bank of a major label. If you have enough money to sort of get things going and pay a publicist and have a distributor who can get the record into the stores, then it can kind of work in your favor. And now it seems like everyone's doing it.
Well, it seems like there was this major transition between the 90s and the 2000s, and you had Napster in there, and there were some, everything goes digital, and everyone has to make a real shift in how they market themselves and how you sell or don't sell music. And I was wondering if being an independent musician made that transition easier than if you had been with a major label and had all that, those extra sort of things going on, and then the axe comes down and there's a whole new world out there. If being independent really kind of helped you through that.
I think it did, actually. I think I may actually have been on a major label when Napster was in full swing, like late 90s. I remember somebody had recorded me singing Purple Rain in Minneapolis, and Napster kind of ran with it, and it actually helped me a lot. It actually brought me to a lot of households that might not have heard of Martin Sexton before that. And as a result of that, I get requests for that song like almost every night. It's funny. I actually do sing it once. I try to only sing it when I'm in Minnesota, just because I like to tip the hat to Prince. I usually do that. Like if I'm in, a certain town, I try to tip the hat to other artists from that town. But so Napster was actually good for me. And I can't remember if I was actually indie or on a major when it happened, but certainly I was indie years following, and that was wonderful. It was actually kind of like airplay for an artist like me. So it helped.
So do you think all the social media, the Facebooks and the Twitter, the Instagram, and all these abilities, YouTube, to market yourself, do you think that's helpful, or is it harder that you have all these options?
It seems like it's helpful because, an artist like myself, I'm not relying completely on, commercial airplay or, songs in commercials or something. So that opens avenues up to us to reach the fans. Used to be, I had a mailing list, of like 50,000 people, and we would send out postcards with all the tours on them. And the last time we did that was 2007 or 8, I think. And that's when we kind of dovetailed into this digital world we're in. So I think a short answer is yes, that digital media definitely helps get my music out to folks. Like the live streams I did during the whole lockdown times really kind of branched me out to households that might not have been familiar with my music or not as familiar. So yes is the answer. It's definitely helpful.
So as a songwriter, do you ever collaborate and co-write songs, or are you pretty much writing just for yourself?
Both, actually. I write just with and for myself. And I co-write a lot of my, I think, best performing songs were co-written. My good friend Ned Claflin, who's in Los Angeles, we've co-written a lot together. And I'd say probably about a third of my tunes are co-writes and 2/3 are just me. The most recent release is all just me because I was on lockdown, so I was kind of in my cabin alone with the family.
What is it about co-writing that works? I mean, people describe that it can be a really creative experience, but what is it that really works in that process?
I find that when I'm co-writing, I kind of have to be on my game because you want to do your best, and I feel a little challenged. Like I'll have an idea, and then they bring something to the table that you like or not so much like, and it's just a great collaboration. It's a different beast for me. I find when I co-write, there's a little less dreaminess in my lyrics, a little less nonsensicalness in my lyrics. Because when I'm doing stuff on my own, I tend to take from what I call the John Lennon school of songwriting, where you have these kind of dreamy lyrics like, no one I think, what the hell's the Strawberry Fields? No one I know, think it's me, but I know, and it's a dream. Like he's just got all these lyrics that really don't mean anything, but because he's singing them, it means something. And I like to do that myself, just kind of do wacky little phrases. And I tend to do less of that when I'm co-writing.
I can see that. Someone else is there, so you feel you have to focus or hey, this needs to mean something. And
exactly.
Yeah. So as a musician, you're on a platform. Obviously, you have all these fans, but you're kind of up there on a platform, and there's the ability to really get the word out for various causes that might be important to you. Is there anything that that is important to you that way, and how do you feel about that platform as a musician?
Well, for me, I put a mission statement out years ago that I try to abide by, of unity. I try to I'm on a mission. Like the Blues Brothers, I'm on a mission from God. And my mission is to bring unity through music, with harnessing the power, which is a massive power of music, to bring unity, to try to follow, like the teachings of St. Francis, for instance, like let me be a channel of your peace. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. So I want to kind of use music to bring a sense of unity with people, because I come from a family of all kind of different kinds of folks, and we disagreed on a lot. We argued a lot, but 12 people at a supper table with different views, it's going to get, hot. And it did often. But at some point, before the meal ended, we remembered or reminded each other that we were a family. So we need to get along. We need to love one another. We can disagree, but still respect one another. And so I try to bring that without being preachy or political. I like to try to just remind everyone that we all have our hopes and dreams, and we all need the same things. And we're all children of this earth. And that's sort of my mission.
What always strikes me that there's such positive energy in your shows. And when you look out and you see everybody singing, is that part of that unity that you're talking about?
Yeah. And I love it too. Thank you for bringing that up, because my audience is not sort of, how am I saying this? My audience is very diverse, in age, in sort of political leanings, in sexual orientation, in color of their skin. So there's just, you have a group of people together who are singing in harmony, shoulder to shoulder, who probably out on the street wouldn't be doing that. And that's one thing, that's when I feel like I'm on the right path, heading in the right direction, is when I see all these folks of different stripes kind of leaving their baggage outside and bringing their humanity inside and singing with other people. And that's church for me. That's my mom, before she passed away, she said, "Hey, Mart, you still going to church, right?" And I said, "Mom, every night I'm working, I'm going to church." And that's sort of my church, is when I'm with an audience and I see that it takes on a power greater than the sum of its parts. It's a beautiful feeling when that happens.
Well, I don't know what it feels like to be on your end, but on the end of being in the audience and singing with all those people, it does feel like church. And it feels so positive, and everyone's looking around at everybody else, and you can just sort of feel the joy for sure. So how has the last year been for you? We're going to talk about your new EP. Has it been hard to not tour and all those things, or what are the pluses and minuses of having been at home, per se?
During the darkest days of 2020, one of the silver linings, or a few of them, there were several actually, was that the FaceTime, constant FaceTime with my wife and my kids. And I don't mean FaceTime like when you're on a screen. I mean physical FaceTime. And, for months on end, not leaving for tour, not really leaving much, there was actually a beauty to that, because I never get that. I have to work. I have to go out, and tour around the world to make a living. So to not have to do that was actually a beautiful learning, teaching moment, if you would. We cut each other's hair. We cleaned out the closets. We waxed the floors. Like me and my wife, we actually wax the floors with like old school wax, like on our hands and knees. And I definitely don't recommend it. It was a big pain in the ass. But, that tree house that I'd been fixing to build with my son for years finally got built in the summer 2020. That kind of stuff, that was the kick in the ass from the universe that sort of forced me to do those things that I'd been fixing to do for so many years. And finally we did it. And then, I wrote a song in that treehouse, and then another song, and then a few more, so good tunes came out of it, and family time. And I was actually blessed with some gigs through it too, some socially distanced gigs, like whether they were drive-in movie gigs or just outdoor parking lots with a stage, or and new inventions of gigs too. They would pop up, like they'd have a plywood stage behind a barn in New Hampshire and hang a LED light from a tree. You know what I mean? And that was the show. And but but it was cool, and like people dug it, and now we'll do it again, even though we don't have to. It's like it was the mother of, the necessity was the mother of invention. And so, of course, it was a dark period in our history, and a painful, with all the loss and the suffering of our family who didn't make it. My aunt being one of them. But out of the darkness came some light, and that I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, I think across the board, people feel there were pluses and minuses, but there were some real positives. One of the positives that came out of this for me was being able to talk to people like you via Zoom, which really didn't do that before. And now we feel like we can really connect with people in a way that we couldn't, or didn't, I should say, before. And but when you have all this FaceTime over the last year, and you have all this creativity and the positives of being with a family, does it make it any harder to go back out and tour?
Well, to be honest, it was almost like being retired, and I kind of liked it. I kind of liked not working.
I'm with you.
Yeah, but I missed the human connection. Like now, when I'm at shows and there's human beings in front of me, just walking on stage is a win. It's like human beings. I'm not in front of a screen doing this. So yeah, I definitely am very grateful to be back out. Whether it's an outdoor show or whatever, socially distant or whatever they're doing now. We got all the fall and winter booked up, to work this record, and just hope it stays that way.
So let's talk about 2020 Vision. It was produced by John, how do you say, Alagia? Alagia, okay. Because he's done some amazing things. And tell me a little bit about him, because I know that he's produced some really cool albums.
Oh, yeah. I met him in the late 90s. Through our good friend Sue Devine, who was with ASCAP at the time. And we kind of stayed in touch over the years. He was a young producer, and he was great. And then when I left Atlantic, I did this double live record that I had mixed with him. We took all these shows, multi-tracked shows, and I took it to his studio in Maryland. And that was about 2000. And he was I remember at the time, he was just finishing up with this young guy out of Connecticut called John Mayer on a record called Room for Squares. And after that broke, that really put Alasia on the map. And with that, he really started working with a bunch of amazing artists and made some great records. And so it's been great, having a friendship with him through the years. And we reconnected during COVID, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to do a socially distanced record. I put down my tracks in Massachusetts. He did his thing in LA with the Players. And we kind of threw the tape back and forth through the digital airwaves and made this completely socially distanced record. First time I've ever done that. I've always been a live on the floor kind of recording artist. So it's the first time we did it like with click tracks and stuff. Was
that harder to do or easier?
I think a little harder, to kind of get the emotion, and you got to pretend like you can hear what the drummer's doing. Because, when I recorded my part of baritone guitar and vocal, it was just me and my guitar and a click keeping time. And so to emote, when the drummer didn't do something cool or the backing singers didn't do their gospel thing, you just kind of imagine them doing that, and it brings out the performance. And then if there was like a flat sounding line, you can always go back and re-sing it, after, like John Mayer puts on his guitar solo. I can go back and, sing over to that, so I can emote according to what he just did, and to get that live feel.
So what did John bring to the table that sort of changed maybe your song in a way that, what did he, as a producer, sort of bring to the table from that perspective?
He brought his just great wealth of experience with songs and production, just ideas of, well, how about instead of a B3 here, we do a little prairie organ, could make it more intimate, or how about, he said you should add an E minor in that walk up on Riding Through the Rain just before you hit the chorus. And like I had, it just kind of helps, kind of little tweaks on a chord change, or, and it was him that suggested getting Mayer to do the solo on Calling America. And wow, that's a great idea. We played it for John. He loved it, laid down his Stratocaster, and boom, like a dream come true.
So you met John through the label, then that's how you met him? Or was it?
Which John?
Mayer, I'm sorry.
I met John Mayer way back before I met Alasia. He was, as you can imagine, I'm touring through the late 90s in these places, and I was in Atlanta in this venue. I think it was Eddie's Attic in Decatur. And after the show, oftentimes you meet folks and they come up and shake your hand and maybe give you a record. That happens a lot. And this one night, about 1999, a young, tall, good-looking guy with brown hair came up and shook my hand and handed me his record and said, "Hey, man, I love your music, and I'd love to open for you sometime," and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "Thanks a lot, brother." Of course, next time I saw this young guy, I was opening for him on a sold-out show tour, and he had a Grammy, and his girlfriend was Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, dude, everything's going well for you, I see.
Yeah, so that's one of those magical moments, that happen. And through the years, he's been very gracious, with, doing work with him, supporting or sitting in or whatever.
Well, in 2020 Vision, tell me why you chose that particular title for your EP.
Well, because of the year was 2020, and all that stuff happened. I wrote in my song, Hold On, it struck me like lightning, knocked me to my knees. That old 2020 vision got me to see. Hold on. So I guess I just extracted 2020 vision as a lyric from that song. And I thought it would make a good album title, because you know what they say about 2020 vision. It's like hindsight is 2020 vision. And it's kind of cliche, I know, but because I think 2020, what happened in that year, all the nice stuff I talked about with family and the stuff we take for granted and the new inventions, it brings a certain vision to us that we didn't have before. And it's clear. It's a moment of what the recovering alcoholics refer to as a moment of clarity, that 2020 vision. So I thought, hey, that sounds like a nice little act title, I think.
Well, let's talk about some of the songs on the track. So you mentioned Calling on America. It kind of struck me that, would you consider yourself patriotic?
Oh, yeah, sure. I love America. I always have. Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
I mean, even if you go back to my first record, I had America the Beautiful on it. And my second album that I put out with Atlantic was called The American. I've always had this sort of depoliticized view and appreciation and love for that idea of America, the American dream, and liberty, and the Statue of Liberty. And I've always had an appreciation for the idea that someone could come here with nothing and make something of themselves. So I love that about him. And I love the topography of America. I love the plains and the Rockies and the Finger Lakes and the Adirondacks and I've been around the world and I've seen all that stuff, but nothing compares to like driving across Utah on I-70. It's just, man, I love it, truly.
When you tour, do you get a chance to check things out? Or are you too busy when you're on tour?
Both. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, it's funny, every time I meet folks, they always ask me, so how long are you in town for?
1 minute?
And I say, well, yeah, we got here at 4 o'clock for the load in and we're going to leave about midnight.
Yeah.
Get to, Tulsa tomorrow. You know what I mean? And but sometimes I do have a day off, or I just enjoy that drive from Tulsa to Wichita or whatever. I've always made a point to not eat at the typical restaurants, the national chains. I always I used to have a book that I carried. Now I've just got my phone, but I always try to find those mom and pop places that not everyone's heard of, that the locals all love, or where all the troopers eat. I always go for those places. And as a result, I've got a wealth of, if you ever need a tip on where to eat in Salina, Utah, I can tell you where to go.
Well, actually, I can picture a new feature on Diddy TV, Martin's Tips on Restaurants.
There you go. Wherever you are, whether it's the Northwest, the Southeast, Canada, Minnesota, New York, whatever.
That's awesome.
Barbecue especially. Love barbecues.
We got some good barbecue down in Memphis, but there's barbecue everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere you go, there's barbecue in different kinds.
I hope I'm not sounding like a tourist, but my favorite rib does happen to be the Rendezvous.
Oh, we love the Rendezvous.
Because I've had Interstate, Jim Neely's down there in Memphis. I've had others, but the quintessential Memphis rib, I think, is that nice dry rub and a little sauce if you want it. But man, love me some Rendezvous. I think it could be my favorite rib in America. That and Dreamland out of Alabama.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm a big dry rib girl fan. I'm like that. I like it dry. They have all these signs in Memphis that say dry versus wet. Which side are you on? But I'm on the dry side. So, and Rendezvous is amazing. I remember going there as a kid before they redid it, and it would be smoky in there. I mean, literally, like tears are kind of coming down your face because there was so much smoke from the cooking of the ribs that was underground, and you're like all down there, and people are smoking. It was a combination of people smoking and the barbecue smoke. But it's an incredible place, and it's been there forever, and we love it here.
Forget the mousse and the hairspray, sugar. We don't need none of that. A little dab will do you underneath the pork pie hat. Until hell freezes over, maybe you can wait that long. But I don't think Ronnie Millsap's ever gonna record this song. Let's go to Memphis in the meantime, baby. Don't act dirty. At least we can get us up a decent meal down at the Rendezvous.
Oh, man, that's awesome. That was great.
You remember that old chestnut, that John Hyatt, Memphis in the Meantime?
Oh, yeah. That is a great tune. Love that tune.
At least we can get ourselves a decent meal down at the Rendezvous.
Well, hopefully you get back down here soon. We're hoping you tour down through here at some point, so we'd love to see you again.
I'm sure I will. I did Nashville during the whole COVID thing.
So let's talk, there are a couple more songs on here. We've got Hold On, Riding Through the Rain, and Penny from the Land of Plenty. Tell me about some of those songs and where you wrote them and what they're about.
Riding Through the Rain would be, my stepdaughter is just so adventurous. And so fearless. She just got out of college, and, she'll just travel the world with no fear. And, I was sort of thinking about that, how as a parent, you can't keep them in the house. You know what I mean? You can't control them. And you got to sort of let them fly. And that tune is sort of about, letting your kid, fledge out of the nest and taking those chances and, seeing those places and meeting those people. And it can be scary, wake in bed at night wondering where they are, what they're doing, and it's beautiful at the same time. But I guess Riding Through the Rain is all about that beauty and that fear. And I knew a guy who his name is Tim Mason. He was the booker at one of the folk rooms way back in the 90s in New England, and his daughter actually rode the rails when she was like 18. She would ride the rails like a hobo around America. And he was at peace with it. He didn't know where she was or what she was doing. And I think I have a line in there, riding the rails, and it kind of speaks to that idea too.
And how about Hold On?
Hold On is all about that treehouse that I had been fixing to build. My southern friends, I'm fixing to. I
was wondering where you got that from, because you're not from the South.
No, no, ma'am. But I'm fixing to be from the South. But and so I'd been fixing to build that treehouse with my boy for about 4 summers, and finally took that 2020 kick in the butt to actually whip out the hammer and the scrap wood, and we made it all with all like leftover stuff from other things, and then I wrote that tune. I sat down with my old Gibson in it, and the tune kind of presented itself to me and finished it up on a bike ride on our dirt road. It's all about, it's about that love that you have with your family, and that the simple things, waxing the floors with my wife and hanging out. And I rhymed the word wife with wife. I didn't realize this till after the song was like almost recorded. But so I have time to be waxing floors with my wife and time to spend time with my sister and her wife. And it didn't dawn on me that, hey, it's the same word, but it worked.
It totally worked. And how about Penny from the Land of Plenty?
Penny from the Land of Plenty is sort of an old song of mine that I had written about a gal I had met at a meeting years back. And she would come in and out, she'd get better and then she'd kind of go off, and then she never saw her again, and I had always wondered what became of her. And so I wrote this song about kind of a rich girl who's struggling with addiction. I wasn't originally going to put it on the record, but then I thought, in these times of 50, 60,000 Americans dying every year of opioid overdoses alone, I thought, man, this is our own, it's like a Vietnam every year. So I need to put out music that speaks to that. And so it's basically a song about someone struggling with addiction, and it kind of ends on a hopeful note. She's got to take that step. I want to help you, and I'll do anything I can to help you and love you and accept you, but you have to do it for yourself. You can't do it for someone else. And you're the only one of you got, Penny. That's what that's about. Well,
I love them all. We listened last night, and of course, we're big fans of yours. So it was, as usual, we loved every song on the EP, 2020
Sweet,
Vision. And, we wish you the best of luck on your tour. And hopefully everyone, can enjoy live music again, which is what we're all about, and getting out and enjoying and seeing and going to festivals and venues and such. And, hey, come see us in Memphis if you get a chance.
Oh, I'd love to. Love to. Well, all the best to you guys. Hats off to you. Thanks for the support. I appreciate you.
Absolutely, Martin. You take care, and tell your family we say hello.
I sure will. See you guys out on the road of life.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation with Martin Sexton. To learn more about Sexton and what he's up to, and to purchase his music, including his new 2020 Vision EP, visit martinsexton.com. And remember, you can visit diddytv.com for more exclusive on-demand content and download the official free Diddy TV app from your app store today.